Every time there's been a stock market decline, I didn't say crash, you said crash, but I'm talking about decline, a serious decline. It has hurt many and it has hurt most investors. Some people, of course, do well, but nearly always when there's a long, big stock market decline, most investors suffer. First of all, the U.S. is going through the longest period in American history without a big problem, at least without a big problem in the stock market. So, hooray. Look out the window. Everybody's happy. The problem with that is it's been a very long time. And when everybody's happy for a very long time, it usually means something is going to make people unhappy. Whether that's a stock market decline or economic decline or both, I don't know. But I am certainly skeptical of the U.S. right now. I've sold my U.S. stocks, but that doesn't mean I know what I'm doing. But I'm certainly worried and skeptical. First of all, it's the longest period in American history, which would make me raise questions or look for answers. Secondly, that's true of many stock markets in the world. It's rare that everybody's having a good time at the same time. That is another reason to be skeptical, or at least to ask questions. So, and as I look around, I see a lot of new people coming into the market, talking about how easy it is, how much fun it is, and you can make money. Easy money. Well, I've always learned to be skeptical of easy money. Now, wait, Elijah, let me make sure you understand. I like easy money. I would love a lot of easy money, but I've been around long enough to worry. Nearly every investment market around the world is at or near an all-time high. I know enough about markets. Forget numbers. I know enough about markets to know when everybody's having a good time, something is probably going to change. And of course, the reason things are at all-time high is because the numbers don't support the present price. Well, the numbers in theory don't support the present prices. So that makes me skeptical. Does it mean I'm right? No. Oh, Scott, I make many mistakes in my life, many mistakes. But I do know that at the moment, nearly all markets are making new highs, and that is often a cause for concern. Often, not always. Every time there's been a stock market decline, I didn't say crash, you said crash, but I'm talking about decline, a serious decline. It has hurt many and it has hurt most investors. Some people, of course, do well, but nearly always when there's a long, big stock market decline, most investors suffer. So my advice, please, to everybody, only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. Everybody right now wants and is eager to have a hot tip. Be skeptical of hot tips. Hot tips can ruin you and probably will ruin you. So just be very, very careful and be very skeptical. But if nothing else, the very fact that he has these positions will cause people to discuss things that they might not have discussed otherwise, or might have just dismissed out of hand otherwise. So yes, it's going to cause a discussion, if nothing else. And if there's a discussion, more and more people look at things like gold and silver, just because, at the high levels in Washington are talking about gold, people will too. They will think about it. So if nothing else, it's going to open more discussion, which we haven't had much of in a long time. Well, I own gold. I have owned gold for many years. I've never sold any gold, and I hope I'm smart enough to buy more gold. I hope that my children have my gold sometime. But if I were buying precious metals today, I would buy silver. Silver is much cheaper on a historic basis. I own both. If I were buying one today, I would be buying silver. Both have a long history of being valuable to the world. Both have a long history of being profitable or helpful during crisis. And people have known about gold and silver for centuries. The U.S., for instance, was founded on a silver standard in 1792. We changed later to a gold standard, as did many people in the world, but silver has a huge value. You remember, Jesus Christ was sold for 30 pieces of silver, not for 30 pieces of gold, because silver has had a long history of value. I own both. If I were buying one today, I would buy silver, to repeat. Much of the world in the last few decades has been a gold standard. After the Second World War, especially, the world was all on gold. So I guess that's the answer. I don't have a good answer. My only answer is I own both. I know that throughout history, people have often tried to return to a gold or silver standard when there are big problems. The main answer is it's never worked. That's why we're not on a gold standard now, because it never was successful. But when people have serious problems, they try gold standard, silver standard, whatever. So it's a very good chance that if we have a serious problem in the world, people, especially a currency problem, serious currency problem, people will start talking about a gold standard again. I own it. Whatever they talk about, I own gold. I'm skeptical. I've heard this story before. I'm old enough to have heard many stories like this. I've read about this for many, many years. I'm skeptical, but hooray, if he does it, we'll probably all be better off, at least eventually. In the first stage, we might suffer, because whenever you do a lot of cutting, somebody suffers. But eventually, if he does it, and if he's successful, we'll all be better off. But I'm skeptical. I've heard it before. Just give a quick summary. In 1924, Britain was the richest, most powerful country in the world. There was no number two. But 50 years later, in 1976, Britain went bankrupt, literally bankrupt. IMF had to help them pay their bills. That happened in 50 years to the number one country. It's happened often in history that countries get out of control. I see the debt skyrocketing in the U.S. I don't see how. I mean, I can add and subtract. Elijah, I don't see how we can ever pay the bills, how we can ever pay the debt. And that always in history has led to problems. Someday somebody has to say, what do we do? And usually what they do is they print more money, which is not good for any country, although the politicians at the time always say, this is good for you. It's the evil foreigners we have to worry about. It's not loyal, faithful, good standing American citizens. It's the evil foreigners or whatever countries is concerned. But I mean, you have enough perspective or enough knowledge to know that it doesn't work. But that's not what they say when it's happening in the government. The government always says, this is a short-term measure. It's temporary, and it's the way it's going to be good for you, citizens, loyal citizens. And we're only worried about the foreigners, the evil, horrible foreigners. It's not our citizens that are at fault. It's the evil foreigners. And it's only temporary. Don't worry. It will be good for you in the end. I mean, I can write the speeches. I know what they're going to say. But I own shares in very few countries in the world anymore, because most stock markets or most investment markets are doing well. That makes me ask questions. It makes me skeptical. So I am not very keen on most stocks in the world. If I look around, things like agriculture are still somewhat depressed. Some commodities are still somewhat depressed. I mean, oil is certainly well down from its all-time high. So is silver. There are some things that might be good places to look. I just repeat, Elijah, I try to look for things that are depressed. That's where I start. Doesn't mean I will invest in them, but I usually do not look at things that are at an all-time high unless I'm thinking about selling short. I look at things that are depressed.